we go. Type 6-7 if you're ready. 6-7. Good morning, everybody. 55 minutes after 9 on this day before the winter storm. Hello, everybody. Welcome to SnowTALK. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good on this 23rd day here of January as we're gearing up for a lot to deal with in the coming days and weeks, it looks like, guys. This is going to be a long duration event. Yes, the winter storm is mainly for the weekend, but the impacts will last a long time. So that's what I'll make sure you guys are ready for. Hopefully you are. This has been talked about so much. So, but now we're to the nitty gritty, right? The finer details of the thermal aspect of the atmosphere, whether you're going to get all snow or you're going to get ice or you're going to get sleet, that type of stuff. That's what we need to figure out. And the midday data is rolling in now, and there have been some changes. So we're going to cover that. First, let's get into the snowboard, and then I'll explain the game plan for today, okay? We got the winter storm, obviously, for the weekend. We have light snow that we will be tracking. Looks like Wednesday night. I know we got to take one at a time, but I'm always looking ahead because we can't just ignore what happens after this because there's a lot. There will be a light snow event. I'm thinking right now that's probably going to be like an inch or two for Wednesday night, but it will only just add to any other issues and certainly keep our road crews busy. Then next weekend, still set up to watch. That's set in stone. No need to go panicky on that one, but I'll explain why that's even on the board to begin with. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to cover the current setup because we do have an alert out for tonight for cold that I need to cover as well. And then I'm going to get into your comments. You guys, crispy biscuit or brisket. Sorry, I always say biscuit. You should just change it to biscuit. Carson said you should.
You say my name.
Yeah, crispy brisket. Should be just biscuit,
oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like brisket too, but
Any brisket's good.
Any brisket's good, right?
Tell Crispy I said hi.
Yeah.
I'll see him this weekend.
Carson says hello. We'll be on together coming up tomorrow.
Yes,
Everyone's been asking for us to be together, so
there you go.
here we go. You ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. Well, no, but
That's right.
no, I'm not sure if I'm ever going to be ready for this one, but all right, go get some rest, Carson.
I'll try.
All right. Again, you'll be seeing him coming up tomorrow, and I'll be here too. Okay. So I'm going to get to your comments at the end here, but you guys can chat amongst yourselves as you always seem to do. That's fine. We have a lot of regulars that are here, a lot of you that are new that are here. And if you're new here, please be kind. And not that I have strict rules on the chat, but at the same time, I mean, everybody's really cool in our chat. All right. This is one of the best chats I deal with every day. And they're always kind to me, and they're patient. So, yeah, they'll help you out. If you have a question I don't get to, I promise you they will help you out because they always do. All right. So, but I'll get to you a lot of your questions at the very end here. I know it can be frustrating, but it's easier for me just to get everything out that's on my mind and then all the data. And then hopefully, as I do that, I've answered stuff, but I may generate more questions. That's fine, but just hold tight if you can. Fair enough. All right. Here's live looking Bardstown, kind of a hazy looking sky. We got a mix of a mid-level deck of clouds right now. Cold for sure. We're 25 right now in Louisville, but here's the odd thing. We're not done on dropping this morning. Typically we begin to climb from here on. Not in today's setup. It's actually an Arctic blast that is moving in today. You just not hearing much about it because there's so much noise about the weekend, but this is a very cold, bitterly cold, frigid air mass that is sinking southeast as we head through lunch today. So yes, we'll be dropping a bit here the next couple of hours before we may try to climb slightly later today, but it's going to be close to this. Indiana's already seen that drop. Bedford's down to 14, while Columbia is holding on and showing off at 30. But it's coming your way. It'll take just a little bit longer to get here, but it's coming. Okay, so here's the cold weather advisory. This kicks in actually tonight because as that Arctic blast moves in, the wind will kick up. Actual numbers will be in the single digits. I think Louisville will be right around 10, but the wind chill may get to about 5 to 10 below zero tonight and early tomorrow. I'll give you some of the stats and numbers on that. I may actually have it now. Let's see. I do. All right, there we go. It's giving us right now 3 below zero in Louisville, 5 below at Fort Knox, and 6 below in Jasper, but that's just accounting for the average. The wind doesn't stay constant, so it will have surges at times. So at times it will get up to near 10 below, may ease back to 3 below or 2 below, and then go back to 10 below, that kind of thing. But know that if you're going to be out later this evening, you got dinner plans tonight, maybe we're going out to celebrate the winter storm coming, and you want to have a romantic dinner. I get that. When you walk out of dinner, it'll be very, very, very cold. The restaurants probably won't be that packed, right? I think everyone's going to be anchoring down already tonight. I got a feeling. But we'll see. Let's see. Anyway, it's going to be cold and certainly into tomorrow morning. So just want to make sure you guys are aware of that alert. Okay, so radar's quiet now. Fair? Where's the winter storm? Well, the Baja low that we've been tracking is now well onshore and getting sampled fully. So here it is, rolling on toward El Paso. Here's the northern piece on track already, breaking snow out into Kansas. So it is already moving in. I still think this is the same storyline. It's a 1-2 idea. First piece moves in for Saturday. Then there's a small lag. And then the second piece, which would be a bit stronger, will then push in as we head into Sunday. And then it phases. So far, the big debate we've had in a lot of the even short-range models is when does it fully phase? West of 65 or east? And I think that's the fair dividing line that we're looking at for whether or not the warm nose, if you will, the warm flow of air overhead, how far north does that go to give you sleet, right? Well, there is a gap between them, but I personally just have a hard time with this particular setup, which is very unique, that this is going to produce a winter storm just Saturday alone in snowfall for everybody. Once that happens, the second piece, just very suspect on how far north that really is going to be able to push. Typically, we just face the one main phase low, and at that point, it's arriving as sleet or arrives as freezing rain or something like that. I would be a little more gung-ho about, yes, that's going to be the problem. It's going to be an ice storm, sleet storm, whatever, and then it may end as snow. Oh, sorry, I got a spammer. Hold on. Sorry. Okay, got it. If we didn't have this little piece in advance of it, I'm suspect because this is going to create certainly low-level cold. I don't see the numbers of the ground moving at all. I think everyone's going to be very, very cold. It's all about above our head. That will happen. I just don't think the layer is going to be as thick enough right now to prevent the snowflake from forming or melting before it falls. And that's what really this is all about. When you talk about sleet and freezing rain and snow, it's a matter of the snowflake when it forms above us. Can it survive? I mean, it wants below freezing air to fall into until you see it out your window and hits the ground. And then it accumulates. But on its journey down, if it's warm, it will melt. If it melts, great. But if it's still cold at the ground level, which we will be, it will refreeze again. And it may freeze back up before it hits the ground. In that case, it no longer has that pretty little snowflake shape to it. Instead, it's an ice pellet. That is sleet. Freezing rain is just simple as that. It's rain. It looks like a typical rainy day outside. However, anything that it touches creates a glaze or ice accretion. I think we'll see all three scenarios at some point across wave country. I'm not going to rule it out. But I do think snow is going to be the predominant one we'll be talking about for a lot of you. And certainly it's going to be the main issue on Saturday. And sleet will get involved at times. But the layers like that are all going to be varying a bit of whether or not the snowflake melts or not. That is going to, it may happen in different times of the day. If there's any window right now that I think it's most likely, it is going to be in the pre-dawn hours of Sunday. Otherwise, I really feel this is going to be mainly a snow setup, but I'll get into the details here in just a second with a couple of models. All right. Look at the winter storm warnings that are out. I mean, we have seen this before, but we don't get it often. Does that make sense? So this is remarkable to see that winter storm warning covering, in some cases, the entire states. Certainly the case for Kentucky, right? The entire Commonwealth is covered in winter storm warning, all the way to the Commonwealth of Virginia. Ice storm warnings are out for Mississippi into Tennessee, and this sneaks all the way down to Atlanta because we talked about the CAD the other day, the cold air damming that happens east of the Appalachians. That cold air just pours in advance backwards, goes the other way, so it sinks down into the mountains and spills into Atlanta. So that's why the Carolinas have got a problem, especially the upstates of both North and South Carolina and Northeast Georgia. Cold air just sinks in there and the warm air just doesn't see it. It just goes over it. It's like, I don't even see you. So it just flies on by and then you end up with an ice storm. Very, very classic ice storm scenario for that area. Okay, anyway, just kind of give you a general idea in case you're watching from there. Some of you are. Actually, we got people all over the place. In fact, chime in. Type in where you're at right now anyway. And that will help me out too when you make your comments because I'll try to remember your names. So I see Mark Paul, I see Atomic, I see Carrie, I know Josh, Lori, Adam, and we know Adam. So as I see your comments, I'll try to match the location with you the best I can. Karen's in Bardstown. All right. So again, that's the extent of the wintry weather. So you can tell that if you're trying to travel anywhere, it's just big, Frank, it's just not going to happen. I mean, you're going to have a very difficult time getting around. And if you get to a community, they probably won't have power, especially in those ice storm areas. And typically when they have big power outages in other parts of the country, we send our crews, right, to go help them out. You always see the parade of utility trucks. In this case, every community needs their own utility companies to help out. So no one can really support anybody. Maybe the upper Midwest and the Twin Cities area into the Dakotas, maybe they can send some crews down. We'll see. But yeah, we'll need help. Everybody's going to need help in this kind of case. But for our area, it's mainly, I think, going to be a snow setup. You see the winter storm warning again covering everybody. This kicks in officially, I think, at 1 a.m. tonight. And the reason for that is light snow may begin in our southwest counties at that point. But the majority of the snow really, especially for Louisville area, is going to be more of an afternoon deal, not so much morning. So if you still have something you got to work today and you're not going to be able to get out this evening and get something you need to find at a store, you still have time Saturday morning before things get slick. Mark's over in Shepherdsville. Michael's in Beachmont. Okay, Jennifer, what time will the snow move out? We're going to cover that. Hang tight, hang tight, hang tight. All right, so here is future cat. Whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry about that. Some of these miles run wild. All right, so I'm going to do this slowly. So let's do that. All right, so this afternoon, pay attention to where you're at. Does everybody know where they are here on the map? I hope so. To get your bearings right. I can't really draw right now on the map, but you hopefully see that. Louisville's right in the middle, right? All right, just pay attention to that and pay attention to the clock at the top. That is going to guide you. If you don't know where you're at, look at the town that's closest to you. Okay. So here we go. Tonight, this evening, as I mentioned, we're fine. Just very, very cold. Cold wind chills. It's going to get breezier. We get into the overnight. Here we go. Winter storm is now arriving with the cloud cover. And then we'll start to see, not long after sunrise, light snow will begin to break out. And this will be light initially because the air is dry. So it will be probably flurries, excuse me, flurries and a very light snow, kind of just flying around. A very pretty light snow, but we're so cold, and the cold that arrived today absolutely is freezing up the roads again. So that's going to cause problems, and it's going to lead to immediate accumulation here. As soon as this starts, slick conditions will begin, but you can still get around, but it will be slick. We get toward midday on Saturday. Now we're getting to much more of a steadier snow, still mainly light, but it will become a little more moderate as we get into the afternoon, and at times moderate to heavy snow as we get into Saturday afternoon and Saturday night, especially in our southern counties. So while the heaviest of snow, as you have seen and you will see, has still been forecast mainly in the northern parts here of Wave Country, you guys in the southern part will actually get some of the higher totals for the Saturday portion of the winter storm. So you will have your moment. So that's good. That makes it easier on snow lovers. And so I feel like Oprah in a way today. Everyone gets snow. You get snow. You get snow. At some point, you all get snow. But Saturday, it's snow for everybody. Lighter north for Indiana. Indiana, at this point, by the time, let me advance this a little bit. Once we get into Saturday evening, Indiana's probably a 2 to 3 inch total at this point, Saturday night. I think central and southern Kentucky is going to be over 4 inches at that point, maybe even getting closer to 6 by the time we get toward, say, 11 o'clock. We should have several half-foot amounts being reported once we get into the 11 o'clock news for Saturday night. So that is certainly going to cause travel issues as the night wears on. So again, if you got to run any errands Saturday, do it early. Earlier the better. You wait too late, you're going to run into this, and southern counties will be first to get the deeper pack. Okay, once we get into the overnight, here's where we get into an interesting setup. Remember, it's a 1-2 idea, 2 pieces. There is still a small gap in timing with them. Because of that gap in timing, the radar may relax. You may see the snow ease to very light snow, or it may even end completely out your window. It's a false stop to the snow. Don't think, oh no, the storm's over, it's done, that's it, that's all we got. That's all we got with Saturday. Don't be caught off guard. It's almost like, not exactly, but as far as how it is emotionally when you're looking at the window, it's almost like the eye of a hurricane. It moves in like, wow, that's crazy. And then suddenly it's quiet. And then it gets crazy again. Well, that's how this is going to be. It will ease. Now, during that easing, we run into an issue where we may start to lose the ability for the snowflake to maintain itself in our southern counties. So at this point, about 2 a.m., we may start getting some freezing drizzle or sleet that may get reported in our southern counties. By the way, this is our graph model, in case you're wondering, our in-house model. Because of the separation of the two, you start to ease your precipitation rate. That may start to affect our southern counties. I'm not going to rule it out. For Indiana, you can tell, according to this, it may not really stop. It may just keep going. And Louisville is going to be kind of in both ideas. We may end up stopping, may end up more off and on. But in general, if you got to travel into the overnight for, sorry, I can get the cursor back. There we go. If you got to travel until late Saturday night and Sunday, there may be just a little bit of a window. And this will be good for road crews to try to make some good ground here, get things plowed and cleared before we get to the second piece. But as I mentioned, the second piece has got the Baja low that moves in from Texas. This is going to have a warmer flow that will try its best to melt the snowflakes above our head. And it will try to push that line all the way up toward, sorry about that. We just took a power hit. So you guys can still see me, right? Yes? Let me know. I think a generator just kicked on. So, okay. Not sure what's happening today. Okay. Storm's not even here yet. Okay. So the sleet line, very close to the parkways at this point. If you're in Campbellsville, in Columbia, in Greensburg, maybe Marion County, you may actually be a little bit more on the freezing drizzle side. It's possible because, again, you could be at 15, 17 degrees, by the way, and still get freezing drizzle and rain out of this. It doesn't have to be at 32. So that's going to be a problem because you're going to run into icing as we get into the overnight hours of Sunday. But the icing will begin, if there's going to be, in our southern counties in the wee hours of Sunday. For areas north of the parkways, it will likely still be snow. But now we're filling the radar back in. The second piece has moved in. The radar no longer has a chance to have a lunch break. It's back on duty. So we fill the radar back in. So when you go to bed, you probably will miss all this little ease that happens. But when you wake up, we get into the second piece, which again has more moisture with it. It's got more lift with it. Now we get into the core of the winter storm when it has, if there's going to be any surprises, this is when it'll happen, is the second piece, because it is a much more of a monster setup here for the second piece compared to the one on Saturday. So as the radar intensifies a bit more, the snow rates will be close to about 1 inch, maybe up to 1.5 inches per hour. Most of them will be about 1 inch an hour. That will be certainly the case for Indiana and right along the Ohio River and 64 into Kentucky. And Louisville, again, right there, there's Wavy, right there along the parkways and just north of that. Oh, it's so close. The NAM model, everyone's been talking about that. The NAM model typically can handle warm noses very well, these warmer flows like this. And it showed that, well, the new run just came in and it trended colder. It's shifting the sleet line more to the south to give more of northern Kentucky more of a snow event, and certainly for Louisville. So Louisville is still very questionable here, very questionable in the metro on if we're going to even get to sleet or not. We may stay all snow. And if it's all snow, as I mentioned, it's going to be big. If you get sleet involved, you start eating away the total slowly. The longer it lasts out your window and you got sleet and it's not switching back over to snow, that should be your sign that, oh no, whatever you got outside on snow probably may be the majority of it. That may be the core of what you have. But you see our southern counties, again, the icing is not good. I know some of you, especially in Marion County, Washington County, into Adair, you're worried about that. I get that. And we'll cover the icing ability here on accretion in just a second. We get into Sunday mid-morning, still snowing. But here's the change. Now we're on the back side of the system. You see the angle tilted. Now we're on the back side of the system by late morning Sunday. So colder air begins to flow in from Canada. As that happens, that warm nose is gone. See you later. So the snowflake is back in action. So that will start to happen north to south. It will push the sleet line down, and then everybody goes back to snow as it becomes a little more off and on into Sunday evening. And then we're finally going to be wrapping this up as we end early into Monday. Okay, so looking at the data here, several things I wanted to show you all. Here is the graph that you just saw, the same model, but in numerical form. Now, why am I showing you this? Well, sometimes it's a little easier to explain on the numbers. So let it update. It constantly is updating. First off, here are your winds at the ground level. They're all coming in with a north, and this is for Louisville, north to northeast wind. Typically, an east wind is scary because you can get an ice storm out of east winds. But north to northeast wind, that keeps us cold. Look at the numbers. Temperatures stay in the teens the entire time here. Very, very cold. But look at the wind aloft. This is important. Here's Saturday's piece that begins to move in. Generally a northwest flow, keeping us cold tonight and early tomorrow. Then here is the, let me get rid of my drawings, sorry. Here we go, the warm nose, if you will, southwest wind. There it is, above our head. It shows up about a mile off the ground. That is where if you're going to have any changeover, it'll happen. But at the same time, as I always have said here in the blog, you've got to get a warm wind to get the big snow. But it comes at a risk. Comes at a risk because if you get too much warmth, you get into precip type issues. I've said that many times. In fact, I think I've said it every time on winter storm setups. If you've watched, you understand that. But if you're in that sweet spot where you hold on to that warming flow to gain the moisture from it, but not enough to overwhelm you to change your precip type, then that's how you get the big snow. And in Louisville's case here, we get injected with a lot of that moisture at that point, but it doesn't quite switch us over. So this is actually a near textbook scenario of a winter storm for Louisville and a good chunk of Indiana too. We'll go back to that north wind on the back side of the system Sunday night. You see it gets cold above our head. So again, everybody goes back to snow. Here's your moisture levels as far as moisture at the liquid equivalent. If we were to melt whatever we get and we put it into a gauge, that's how much it'll show. It's giving us over an inch of liquid. Typically, it's a 8 to 10 to 1 ratio for Louisville. That's about our average here. It's different depending on where you're at in the country. Your climate determines that average of your ratio. Typical for the country, the averaging is 10 to 1. 1 inch of liquid equals 10 inches of snow. Our area, typically, we're more 8 to 1, especially in the past decade. This system is probably 13 to 15 to 1, and we already see that. Look at the liquid equivalent of about 1/4 of an inch, but look at the snowfall. That's more than a 10 to 1 ratio. That's already put close to 4.5 to 5 inches down, when typically it would be 2 to 3 inches. So it's higher, about 2 to 3 inches more than you normally would get as it's falling, if that makes sense. And that's some of the math that we're working on behind the scenes to try to determine this. But the model does a good job, to be honest with you, and at least giving an idea of where we're going with that. But you can see that it continues to accumulate and accumulate, and it ends up with 11.8 is its thought by the time it wraps up Sunday night. But again, inch of liquid there. Okay, so another way to look at this. This is the GFS ensembles. Let me pull that full screen. These are the different ideas in the GFS of what could happen on snowfall amounts. All different ranges. The black line is your median here, and that median is a foot. And it says that the potential, there are a few members that are trying to go 15 to about 18. And there's some, but not many, on the lower end. But notice there are none under a half a foot. That is what stands out. Not so much the high number up here. It's the idea down here that it's, basically a lock here we're talking about of getting, the half a foot for the first leg of this. So that's what I mean by, again, a winter storm technically is 4 inches here or higher. And that's what we're going to be getting on Saturday. So we'll get the winter storm on the snow side Saturday. And then we just got to figure out. And you got to look at a forecast this way. You got to look at it in ranges. You can't really just say it's going to be 12.2. I mean, you could, but good luck. Unfortunately, due to the chaos theory and meteorology and being involved in that, I don't know how you can do that. Even AI can really do that. Even though the models say they spit out a number, I mean, that's just not how it works. That's not how it works. One day we'll be able to tell you that. Just like in Back to the Future 2, when Marty McFly it was Doc. Yeah, it was Doc. It said it's going to stop raining here in 3, 2, 1, and it stopped. That was cool. When I was a kid, it's like, wow, can you imagine if the weather got that way? We're getting closer. And some of your apps may say, oh, it's going to end. Stand by. We're getting closer. We're not quite there. So that's why you got to look at snow in a range idea here. You can't just lock in a specific number. But there's no doubt there's so many of them that are clustering right there in that 12 to 14 area on this particular model of the graph. So where do we think? Keep in mind here, this is the grand total for the entire weekend. Should I go full screen? I'll go full screen on this. All right. So this is the entire weekend total. Remember, a good 4 to 6 inches up to half a foot is going to be common for Saturday. So keep that in mind. Then we'll get the second piece on Sunday. If you get sleet and freezing rain involved, your totals will be varied for the second leg of this. But look how widespread the 8 to 12 is across Indiana, northern Kentucky. We did go lower on the totals in our southern counties just because, yes, you're going to get the Saturday thump, and that's mainly what that is there. You'll be struggling a bit on Sunday. But as we know, there is the potential here for these higher amounts, and we're still tracking that right along and north of the Ohio River especially. For Indiana, it's going to be a little odd here. I'm seeing some trends here of some banding that may happen, so it may be really kind of scattered foot amounts that may happen north of our range. It wouldn't surprise me, but the sweet spot is right north of where your sleet zone will be. And we're thinking that is going to be, again, very close to the parkways. Just north of that, that is where you can get, I don't want my cursor doing that, sorry, hold on. That's the area that you're going to get your heaviest of snow. And it could go a half a foot, it can go to 1.5 feet. That is the potential on this, maybe even a touch higher, which I would not be surprised if we get those kind of totals. Not surprised one bit, because the models don't always get moisture levels right, yada, yada, yada. But this, again, is a textbook setup for a winter storm in wave country. So if there's going to be any overachieving, this is the system that can do it. Yes, the sleet aspect, which is why we outlined it in the red box, that is the problem, and that is what bums everybody out. And trust me, it's what we fear as meteorologists, because we know the reaction you all will have, and we don't want to be wrong. We don't want to wish cast a foot of snow for the entire region. I love snow, but can't do that. If you know me, you know that. But this is our concern, obviously, is that the sleet and freezing rain aspect will get involved. And I think it will. I think it's hard to ignore that it will get involved somewhere within wave country. Our southern counties more at risk than the northern county. That's about as simple as I can really make it. But where that definitive line is, we're not going to know that, to be honest with you all, until we are in the system itself. And I know that it's frustrating. You don't want to hear that, but that's why we're all going to be here this weekend. We're going to be watching it hour by hour and sending you updates. Yes, it's on track. Everything's good. We're looking at data we're getting from planes or landing and taking off in the region. And we're getting enough data from the weather balloons we're getting from Wilmington or Nashville to really give us an idea of how thick that warm layer is. All that can be done, but to do it in advance is really hard. You've really got to get into the nitty-gritty. So please be patient with us on that. But expect changes because of that line. And I know that's right in the heart of wave country, and that's not what you want to hear, but it is what it is. I can't change that. I wish I could, but I can't control this. I'm just being honest with you, but that's the way it's looking. We have much more confidence on Indiana and along the river that the data is just really hitting this hard. Right north of that sleet zone, that's where it's going to be heavy, very, very heavy. And I don't know what the high end number will be. That's why we did 12 plus. I don't know how high it could go, but I think it's fair to say a foot or higher is going to be found in that area. That's very fair to say that. Does that make sense? Yes, no? I'll get to your questions in a second, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same page up to now. And if not, let me know, and then I'll see your question here in a second. What about the ice? Well, this is the problem too, because an ice storm is a quarter of an inch. That's technically an ice storm. That's how we get into ice storm warnings. Now, when you have an ice storm potential and a snowstorm potential all in one, typically the Weather Service would just put that as a winter storm warning and leave it as one potpourri of a mess. If you have ice as your dominant precipitation type, they'll go ice storm warning. But in this case, because of the Saturday snow, I think that may be confusing to do a winter storm warning and then an ice storm warning the next day. I think it's kind of a mess. So I think winter storm warning will cover both aspects of the heavy snow Saturday and then the ice potential on Sunday. No doubt if you're near and south of parkways, we got to watch this. Got to watch this because you are going to get that snow first and then ice on top of that. That's a mess. I mean, all snow areas, you can at least plow that because it will be a dry snow. At least you can plow that and easier to try to clean things up. But you get ice on top of your snow, well, then you got a whole other issue. Now it's harder to get clean. It's harder to get it off your car, harder to shovel. It's a problem. So we are watching this carefully. And this is going to be one of the bigger aspects that our forecast that will change will be this outlook here. But no doubt that's what we need to watch. And I'm really concerned for you guys in central and southern Kentucky. This comes to light. This is going to cause big problems. This is not an 2009 ice storm, but it will be the combination of the two of snow and this bad idea. This no doubt is going to just close up everything. Roadways, interstates probably will be closed. And so they really have a chance to get them clean before they can reopen them. You're just going to keep traffic off. As we know in 94, everyone keeps asking about 94. And yes, this is similar in 94, in my opinion, as far as the pro-lawn aspect of it, of how it fell, and it took forever just to get out of it. But to be honest, last January, kind of felt like that too, right? And we got those, I joke about, we got those icy ruts that formed in our neighborhood streets that were there forever, and you just couldn't get rid of them. Those will come back, so get ready. But that's what makes this so difficult, because the neighborhoods are going to be some of the last to be touched by road crews, because the main roads and state roads got to be cleared first, especially for routes for ambulances to EMS to get through. They got to keep those open. If something happens to you, get hurt, you got to get to the hospital, right? So that's their priority. So neighborhoods will be last, which is why I think schools, kids, just hopefully they are getting their homework for a while today, because I think it's going to be a while. Anyway, you can see that, again, the combination of the two will feel like 94, but in 94, we weren't necessarily ready. We didn't have the crews out while it was happening. So the storm hit, and then we tried to clean it up. Well, that was really hard. This one's a little different. Road crews are fully aware of what's going on, fully aware. So they're going to be attacking it as it's happening. So I think we'll have some ease there on that idea. But you get into the ice setup, that will complicate the cleanup process. And that's why I think it's going to cause some shutdowns because of that. All right. On the snow meter, I moved this to a 10 yesterday. I think that's fair. I think it'll be a 10. If there's any system, I mean, come on, guys. If there's any system that we have in the Ohio Valley that is going to cause this much snow and this much trouble, it's a 10. It's a 10. So yeah, cabin fever. At least now technology changed. Now we have streaming services. You got, games you can, I mean, it's different than 94. I played Mario Brothers on Nintendo, a little bit of Zelda. But anyway, that's what I had to do. Actually, Super Nintendo, I think at that time. But anyway, I had games, and I had my friends. I grew up in a cul-de-sac, so I got lucky to have people to hang out with. But some of you may not have access to having friends around, but you do have your TV shows to stream and binge watch. So technology has at least got you there. Just hopefully you keep power. Be prepared to lose power. Know what you're going to do. I'm thinking if I lose power, I'm just going to take my ice cream because I got to have my ice cream. I'm just going to take my ice cream and stick it out in the snow. I mean, it's not going to melt. Make sure to keep your pets inside. I'm getting Dobie all his sweaters ready for him to wear. He's not thrilled about it, but he's going to have to wear them. All right, what questions can I ask on this before I get into what is next? Because there's more to cover. Well, I'm not done. And it's 10:30, so I got to move this on here. All I hear is Jeep time, Troy. Yep. Four-wheel drive. That really, the 94 storm was what led to the boom of four-wheel drive, right? And SUVs, that really just accelerated. Everybody's like, I'm getting a four-wheel drive. I am not going through this again. And then we've kind of, I mean, they're popular, but we kind of lost that need compared to what we had at that time. But this is going to reignite it for sure. If you got four-wheel drive, you're going to be everybody's friend to get you through it. Are you excited, Brian? I am excited. I'm worried at the same time. I'll be honest. I mean, I'm a human. I mean, I love snow, but I get the impact. It gets dangerous. I'm totally aware of that. So I'm not trying to overshadow that. For those that have taken the precautions, you're going to be safe and everything. Yeah, it'll be a fun snow. Snow days are always fun. Snow weeks, that's what we're looking at. It's going to be a snow week. So you'll have a chance to get some things done at home. You're probably going to get tired of your families really quick. But in that sense, I'm excited. But I still have to do some traveling. I still got to get here and back. So, yeah, that's going to stress me out. But that's what meteorologists got to do here, right? We don't get to play in the snow like the old days. Hey, Micah, I'm a pastor trying to figure out church service. No way to get in-person service. Not going to happen. I'm sorry, Micah. I'm sorry. I don't think anybody's going to be able to get around on Sunday. I just don't. And even if they could, I don't think you would really want to put anybody at risk of feeling like they need to get there, because obviously some will try, they want to be there. I think it'd be safer just to say everybody to stay home. Start time, Matt. Louisville sleet chance. Again, the sleet part, if there's any sleet in Louisville, it will be after the first leg. So any sleet chance will be in the pre-dawn hours of Sunday and about mid-morning Sunday. That's the only window where if we're going to get that sleet line to advance north than what we think right now, it would happen in that window, Sunday morning. If we pass midday Sunday and it hasn't happened yet, we'll be fine. It'll stay all snow. But that's the only window that's a little iffy, especially when the precip eases. Sometimes when you ease the precip, that little break between the two waves, you can allow the atmosphere to, in this case, we'll lose the snowflake potential and it can become sleet. So we'll need to watch that for that icing period, sleet period. But again, that'll be early Sunday. Saturday's all snow. And just gradually increasing through the day. Timing will vary. Snow does not move in on a very fine line and move. It doesn't work like that. It's very just scattered and blotchy. You may have one county have it light snow, another one hasn't started yet. It's that kind of thing. So it's impossible for me to tell you exact times. Just know that it starts southwest first and advances throughout the day. It's the simplest way to look at it. Okay, so what's next? Well, once we get this winter storm out of here, we do have another Arctic blast that moves in. That will be arriving Wednesday to Wednesday night. Here it is, dropping in. There we go. Drops in quickly in the flow right into the Ohio Valley, right over us. Pretty good confidence on this one. Ratios will be high, so moisture will be very limited. It's a northern wave. It is not one coming from Texas, so it cannot tap into the Gulf in this case. So this one's got a limit to it. This is not going to be a winter storm, but I do think an inch or two out of that is on the table. So that would just, again, aggravate road crews for sure, because it will just add another layer on top of what they're trying to clean up. And very, very cold. Very, very cold for the second half of next week. I continue to keep everything colder. In the 10-day, the models, you may see warmer forecasts on some of your apps. This is an anomaly event. I've seen this many, many times. You get a foot of snow especially, you get into this kind of cold, you go colder with your outlook. Time in and time out. I don't care what the modeling's saying. This is how it trends. So it can be dangerous cold. So no doubt, I think this is a big deal on the cold side for next week, which is why nothing's really going to change as far as conditions outside and trying to improve things. It's going to be tough. Really, really tough. After that, question will be whether or not we get something for that next weekend. It all depends on the attack of the next blast of cold air. Euro likes it a little more eastern Ohio Valley into the mid-Atlantic. That may put us into a clipper snow setup for next weekend. You don't see it there, but that will be what will happen. If the cold air attacks a little more toward Kansas, it will automatically induce a low pressure that will form in the Gulf and track up the coast. That could be a bigger event, but we don't know yet the angle of attack on that Arctic blast for next weekend. But that's what we're going to be looking at as we dive into the long range. Okay, but too early. Here are the wind chills, by the way, Monday morning as the snow ends. Could get to 10, maybe close to 15 below in some areas, but very, very cold. Could get some blowing and drifting snow. The strongest of the wind will be in the second part of the system instead of the front end. So the Sunday night into Monday, that's when the wind will begin to pick up strong. And that's when you're cold, very cold wind chills. But it doesn't stop there. Once the sky is clear, then we really tank on the wind chill for Tuesday. 15 to 20, maybe up to 25 below in some spots. I'm not going to rule it out, depending again on snowpack and how clear we get. But that's dangerously cold. You'll freeze up, get outside, you can get frostbite. So please just stay inside there. All right, let me show you the 10-day, and then I do have to run. So let me run it down, the numbers here. 25 may fall again slightly today, 15 tomorrow. We do try to move the needle up a little bit on Sunday, but it's not enough to change things dramatically. Obviously, way below freezing at 20, and then we drop down below 0. And then you see the second wave that arrives with the clipper snow Wednesday that will drop us back down again. Most of the area will be in the single digits. Louisville may get to 10, but below 0 for sure at night. Okay. Type 3 plus 7 plus 8, if you're good. 3 plus 7 plus 8. Those numbers are ugly, Gary. Yeah, they are. They are ugly. But it's very common after you get an anomaly winter storm and you get Arctic blast to come in, you get an anomaly cold too right after it. So it's just very tough on all of us. It's going to be tough on us mentally. So, do a self-mental check. You need anybody to talk to. You can write me a note here at the station. I'll talk to you. But again, it's everyone's going to be kind of stuck. So if you have friends or family, someone that's going to be stuck alone, and just call them, check on them, make sure they're okay, because we don't want everybody to get too lonely here, being bottled up for this long. That's where the cabin fever kicks in, right? And just the more you stay off the roads, guys, the easier it is for road crews to try to fix this and get things back to normal. So I know some of you have to venture out. I totally understand that. But if you don't have to, if you wanted to see if McDonald's is open down the street, that's not necessarily a trip you need to make. It's not worth it. And then you got to get a tow company if you get stuck to try to come get you, and then you put them at risk being out in this. So it just is a snowball effect, no pun intended. So just stay home if you can. Okay, guys, I'm going to leave it at that. This will replay when I'm done. If you missed the snow map, it will come back up. I'll be on at midday. We're going to have updates throughout the day. I think we have another conference call with the Weather Service this afternoon. So we'll let you know what adjustments are made on their thoughts as well. But this is where we stand as of the day before the winter storm. All right, hang tight, guys. More to come as we head into this weekend. Until then, you still got some time to prepare as we head into this afternoon.